Crane's crowd. Can I ask you a quick question? But Courtney should get the first question.
You can go.
All right, so the question is about the $40 billion figure that I heard, which was news to me, but not to Courtney.
No,
And so
because we've been, sorry, go ahead.
that figure is capital news.
Yes.
How do you get that?
Well, first let's talk about it. The P&A was done in 2017, and there is an inflation that's occurring to that number. But in addition, as we begin to do the compliance work that's required in the agreement, we're beginning to see more repairs. Like, for example, if you had a bright line in terms of what it means to do lead work on our units, you would abate. You would just remove the lead surface, you would take care of that unit, and that's why we're testing, because once we know how much of it's there and where it's located, we can target the capital work. So some of what we're seeing is taking into account, if we try to do abatement, what is that going to put us in cost? To your second part of your question, how do you raise that? We have some ideas. I wouldn't represent to you that we're ready to really put anything on the table at the moment. But we're working with some our financial advisors, our attorneys, and we will propose a plan that we think could raise a significant amount of capital against the number that we're talking about. Not the full amount necessarily, but enough, we hope, that we could do and take care of the 5 areas in the agreement. So elevators, heat, decibel, that kind of thing. So that you could bring a building back to a decent and livable standard.
10,000 units that are left over.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned today that you need some sort of funding model to make those livable, right?
Yes.
And you suggested perhaps that those could be RAD too. So are we thinking, or hypothetically, could all of NYCHA be turned over to private management and development so that they're technically wouldn't be in public housing anymore? Is that something that's actually an option?
So let me start with the technically wouldn't be any public housing. The model we're using retains NYCHA ownership with a lease to our private partner. In addition, NYCHA remains substantially in control in a lot of ways, with everything from the ability, say, to act on the partner if we're not happy with their performance. But so I have to be really clear about that, because it's not like we're turning this over and there's no public hands. There is a public hand. But in looking at the 110,000, what we have to look at, what numbers, what options pencil out. Because there's no point in asking for something if you can't show that you can accomplish what you need to accomplish with the dollars. Now, whether that's a RAD model or some variation or combinations, those are all things that we will be looking at. Now, I wouldn't represent that everything in the 110 would be a RAD, but I think there's some hybrid model out there that we can run that would work very well.
Hypothetically, just a follow-up, sorry. Hypothetically, we know in Cambridge you turn the entire portfolio into RAD. Could you turn the entire portfolio for NYCHA into RAD or some version of RAD here?
I think the way I think about this is that HUD sets down kind of programmatic tracks for what you do with housing that needs capital. And some RAD is one path. There are other paths that are possible under the HUD rules. And we probably explore both of those things and look to see if we combine the two, or is one more favorable, can we raise that money? And we'll probably have a plan early this year that we'll begin to walk out and get a reaction to. But I wouldn't represent that it would be all RAD. I'm not sure what it.
Do you have any idea how many units that your plan would cover in addition to the 62,000?
Well, we would try to come up with a plan that would infuse capital into 110,000 units.
Right.
So it would cover the balance of the portfolio in some way.
Right. So RAD gets you 12 billion. Infill and air rights, if it all goes according to plan, gets you 3 billion.
Mm-hmm.
You still
need a big chunk.
Yeah, you still need a big chunk. So
Yeah.
where's all this extra money coming from?
Well, we have to figure out a couple things. One, are there options under existing federal rules that would allow us to change the subsidies and improve our subsidy? if we can improve our subsidy, we can take on debt. So it's that kind of that basic.
Are you looking to disposition?
We might.
Question about lead abatement. Can you give us a very brief sort of lay-term state of the union on where you are on lead abatement at NYCHA?
So there's actually 3 parts. Resident notification, and we're starting to gear up to do that. If you get to some of the properties, there's now, there's now we're doing under the local law, we've got to do kind of a census, try to find the kids under 6. So there's a whole set of things about letting residents know about lead and what the issues are. If you have kids in your unit under 6, that's what we're concerned about. Please let us know. The second thing is that we're working with the monitor on the lead action plan. That's in discussions as we speak. The lead action plan is going to identify 13 specific steps or areas that we'll have to take as part of that. And I don't have them all memorized, I'm sorry, but they do go generally from how we do repairs when there's lead in a unit and what's the safe way to do that, to addressing common areas and other places. So that'll be spelled out there. The third thing is we're XRF testing, and this is, we're approaching, I want to say we're approaching about 30,000 units tested, and as we get the results from those, we're finding in the post results, which is a smaller number, maybe around 23,000, about 46% of the units do not have lead. So that's helpful for us to know, because then we can begin to estimate, well, what's the capital investment we would need if we are going to abate? Because the back end of the agreement requires us to abate in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So
Can we just have 2 more minutes? I'm sorry.
Yep.
okay.
What
Was that?
yeah.
What would you allow somebody to get to
I think RAD is very helpful in terms of the amount of money it can raise. I don't want to represent that I can predict how a pro forma is going to look on every property, but I would say this: we run the numbers a lot of different ways. We look to make sure that we could raise the money we need to address the physical conditions, whether they're moderate or severe.
Greg, could you just tell everybody how comfortable you are with no longer being the CEO of NYCHA? That's what KPMG is running.
Oh, and they talked about governance change. I mean, we'll probably look at that as part of the organization. And I have a job, so I'm not worried about that.
No, that's not what I mean. Just it would be a job description change, but also, I guess,
It depends. It depends on how, if we act on it, depends on how we would divide up the work. Because there's a lot of different models.
where are you with that?
I would say really, really early. We're really looking at less at the governance and more at how we do stuff in the problem. And
Ready?
what do we have to
Sorry about
organize
that.
to do?
Sorry, guys.
How do we organize to do that?
Your questions on the
Let's go.
on
Sorry.
the
No, and you can send this in